Alright, so I'm here with Shubham, and he is a fellow student at Cal Poly in computer science. And here we're going to talk about Facebook's privacy.
Couldn't be more excited.
You're excited? Good to hear that. Okay, so first question I want to talk about is their terms of agreement. Have you ever read it or have you thought about it when you were signing up for Facebook?
No, as with most things, I typically ignore those things.
Do you ever worry when you ignore them?
Sometimes, but for the most part, I feel like most companies won't do anything super crazy because the backlash these days can be quite intense.
But do you think that Facebook being more personal, does that affect your opinion on the terms and agreement that you're putting these personal photos and you have all these family links and everything on there? Did you worry about it when you were signing up, or was that you didn't really care?
I guess that's a good point. I mean, since I have access to personal data, I'd be more concerned if they're like giving that out as opposed to, I don't know, like Amazon sharing my shopping data, which is
You wouldn't really care.
that's a little less sensitive, you know.
Okay.
But I feel like I don't know. To me personally, Facebook's pretty moral with a lot of these things. And like recently, Mark came in front of the Senate and he was like very honest and open. And now they're like revamping their security on personal data. So, um,
How does that make you feel? Did you notice at all that Facebook's use hasn't changed since Mark Cuban's
Mark Cuban.
I'm not Mark Cuban. Mark Zuckerberg's Senate meeting.
Yeah. Like I said, I feel like most people just don't care. You know?
Right. Makes sense. Okay, did you know about Facebook's partnerships? So did you know that Facebook uses other companies to collect more data? So they actually hire more companies to snoop around your data more.
You know, that doesn't really surprise me because Facebook's main economic model revolves around collecting as much data as possible and then finding ways to target ads towards specific demographics based on that data.
So you feel like this is logical that Facebook would be doing this?
I mean, no one should be surprised.
Right.
So,
Does it make you kind of feel weird that a random company called Axiom has a database of 3,000 like data like segments per U.S. consumer online? So like each person has 3 segments of like data points. You know, these data points could be newlywed or is in a house with an elderly woman, or those are some very real examples, or the kind of the more scary ones, daughter died in a car accident. That was one that they found out. So these kind of really specific data segments, how does that make you feel that these third party companies can collect this much data?
um, I mean, depends what they're doing with them. I feel like I've made some good purchases off of Facebook's ads. So if they're using these and to bring like relevant products, in that sense, I guess it's okay. But I mean, if they're doing something nefarious with it, like like the like altering the election results or something like that, then yeah, that's way worse.
Do you ever think
But
about
again, you gotta think that Facebook's a big company. They're trying to do a lot of things with technology. Their costs are high. I mean, they gotta make money somehow. You can't just expect them to give you a world class website that never goes down, is fast, and can host so much data and features without a cost. You know, so I mean,
but
either we pay for Facebook with like a monthly fee, which no one wants, or we just let them collect some data, which so far all I've seen is they use it for some targeted ads, which at times can be useful. At times they're not, but like that's like any ad. But like at times it can be useful, and like that's like the worst thing I've ever seen.
what about the fact that if you wanted one of these companies to stop following you, there's no really way you could opt out of it. It's gonna happen as like a given thing. Like there's no way to use Facebook without you being tracked. How does that kind of make you feel? Like at this point right now,
I guess
there's no social media that you could use without being tracked. There's no, even they go as far as cell phones. Like, of course, everyone's being tracked through cell phones. But how does it make you feel that there's no opting out? It's just either you accept it or you don't.
I mean, I guess it'd be nice to opt out, but like I said again, like we're paying for a service through our data, so again, I know what we're getting into, and as fellow software developers, we know the time and energy that goes into designing to working on a software product. So I'm sure like there needs to be some sort of compensation at the end. So either a monthly fee or we're just okay with this.
Okay, so this kind of leads me into the next question: is do you feel bad that we don't get any money from Facebook? But you just said that we're paying through our data, right?
Well, I mean, we do get money in this. I mean, we do get like a service, like an expensive service.
So that's why you don't feel bad at all that we don't see a dime of billions.
I see value in Facebook of connecting to other people, of being
like you're using a world-class messenger app, you're using a world-class connection app.
Yeah, and it's completely free. Like you can talk to people on the other side of the world without any cost. Like this was unheard of 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, unheard of. I mean, it's like a big service.
That's a very, very fair point. That's a good point. So now kind of going in, have you ever felt uncomfortable? Has there ever been a point where you actually did think that Facebook was a little too weird? Like personally, just like recently, I met someone while playing basketball and I got his contact, but just his phone number and his name. Just that. Just his phone number, his name. And then by the time I got home, he was already recommended on Facebook to be friends, like by Facebook. Him not sending me a request or anything, he was the first person to pop up on my app.
Is it in Facebook's trying to use that they can get access to the contacts on your phone? I mean, part of their...
I'm sure it's in there that they're not doing anything illegal.
And you can opt out, I'm sure, if you don't want them to see like people's phone numbers. But like...
I mean, find it. Yeah, who's gonna go through and find that setting and go through all that trouble? I mean, look, I said it was creepy.
Why is that uncomfortable? You're already willing enough to give someone your personal phone number, and
but I didn't.
What's the big deal about
Facebook? But Facebook hadn't even entered the picture at that point.
Okay, but let's be honest. In today's society, becoming Facebook friends is as casual as anything. Like it's like each person has over at least 1,000 friends, and none of them are like close acquaintances. That's fair. It's like casual as hell. So what, you add a random guy on Facebook? It's like any other day.
That's true. That's true.
So what I'm not understanding here is what's the real damage?
I don't think there's any damage. I'm in your boat. I see Facebook as an effective tool for communication for sure. Yeah. But I also worry that eventually this is how lines get crossed, is that you keep doing stuff.
Okay, look at the leadership of Facebook. They're all very like for the people, they want government control.
Yeah, until they're not.
But when's that gonna happen? I mean, this has been their clear standpoint from the very start.
I mean, when companies become really, really powerful, they start doing things they start flexing control on certain things. And Facebook might gain too much data, gain too much power, and have influence on some real things like the elections. My other worry is, the kind of lead into the last question is, Facebook had like the secret hospital project, where they were they wanted to collect patient data. And their spin on the idea behind this project is that if doctors and if Facebook has access to this patient data, they can be better at communicating between hospitals and patients. But I worry now that if data breaches like this on Facebook happen regularly, like every few years, how come Facebook is going through with this hospital project? Or how can they be going through this? Like, data is clearly not as secured as we think it is.
Well, that's fair, but like, who else can tackle this problem besides like companies like Facebook, who have like all the engineering and financial repertoire to do it,
Right, but shouldn't they maybe...
Should they wait until... Yeah. But like, how do you know... Like
clearly, right
like
now
in,
is
like
the
in
time
most,
to wait.
most
They need to figure this out first. Because
Okay,
I wouldn't want
that's
any
fair.
medical data on there if, like, freaking
Sure,
millions
but,
and millions.
Sure, but what's one of the benefits of this medical data will make the hospital system much more efficient and probably save more lives, right?
Right, but if
So
the data
okay,
breaches happen,
at the cost of a data breach, which Facebook I'm sure is working on tighter security, and I'm sure they have world class security team already protecting the data. Um, it's not like I don't think Facebook's been hacked heavily in like recent years. It's just the what's the Analytica
yeah,
thing happened.
Cambridge Analytica.
But that was because like they themselves sold the data. It's not like they got hacked. And I think
Right, but
with
the main point of that one is that they realized that the data they had given them
look
led to more
every
data.
engineering system has some sort of flaw, and I get it. Facebook's a big influence on the world, so it's should be taken more seriously. But then again, it provides a huge value, and like this hospital example can save a lot of lives, save a lot of money in the hospital system, which is already very expensive. And I think it's worth the cost of a potential data breach, which Facebook has been really good about, like taking responsibility for and trying to work out. You know, it's not like they just like ignore it and don't put any money towards it. No, they're putting like millions of dollars towards fixing their issues.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay, fair enough. So you're completely on Facebook's side. Do you think that sure it's a normal company, they have
yeah, every company has done some shady stuff, but they've also improved the world for the better. Facebook, Google, Apple, everyone has done shady stuff, and that's just how capitalism works, unfortunately. But like we as consumers, Facebook is so popular and successful, and Mark Zuckerberg is the 10th richest person in the world for a reason, because Facebook is a good product.
Okay.
Like at the end of the day, so yeah,
Alright.
I don't think it warrants all that criticism. So
All right. I mean, I think most of the world is on that side. They continue to use Facebook even despite all that. So I'm slightly on Facebook's side too, but I just think that they should be more careful. And I think that wraps up the conversation.